Hey everybody, welcome to the Pre-Snap Podcast. Today, Tyler Wiemann and I will be going over the NFC North.
Football season.
Football season is fast approaching, so make sure to get the LineStar app to help you dominate your daily fantasy, but also I know the season-long contests, your drafts are probably coming up within the next couple months.
Best balls are here.
Best ball is here as well. So make sure also you lock in your LineStar subscription right now, because right now it is $19.99. Prices will go up to $29.99 at the start of football season. So make sure you lock in that price now. We will include the link below. Also, be sure to check out Underdog Sports. They're back at it with their best ball tournament, which is really fun. Not only is it fun, though, the winner gets $1 million. So just why not? Take a shot at it. You got to be in it to win it.
The highest scorer gets $1 million. The total overall champion gets $2 million.
All right.
And second place gets $1 million.
Well, there you have it.
They're just making millionaires all over the place.
So we'll put the link below. Just go ahead and click there that'll take you to the best ball contest as well. Mm-hmm. And before we get started, just be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below so you can keep up with all our content. And it helps us out a little bit. Let us know if we're doing a good job. We can keep up with all these videos. Let's take a look at the NFC North. Mm-hmm. Now, not maybe as exciting isn't the word. They just haven't had a lot of movement aside from maybe the Packers missing some pieces. But in terms of everything else, it's kind of one of these ones that's a little bit the same.
It is very similar. And if anything, the division as a whole could be downgraded a little bit.
Yeah, so. I don't disagree. Okay, so let's start we'll go from worst to first in terms of the standings from last season. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start with the Detroit Lions, who finished 3-13-1 last season. And they started the season 0-10-1. And although they did end the season on a high note, beating the Packers, Dan Campbell seemed to kind of fire the guys up. He's very beloved with the fan base, but they still have only one playoff win since 1957.
You do love to see, though, like late in the season, all the players really wanting to win for the coach. Mm-hmm. And, it's definitely a bright spot for them, and hopefully they can continue to progress.
Absolutely. Speaking of progress, will Jared Goff do so this year? It's kind of a make it or break it year for him. They easily, if he doesn't put up a good season, I believe his contract is up at the end of this season. Last season, he finished as QB 24 overall in fantasy. But if he doesn't do well, Todd McShay projects the line to have the number 2 overall pick again and taking Heisman Trophy winner Bryce Young. So Goff on the hot seat for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, we know what Goff is by now. He's a decent NFL quarterback, but he's not going to win. He's not going to win you games, especially when a division on his back. But he's fine. He's serviceable. All
right. So let's see what weapons he has. Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 22, as well as first-round pick Jameson Williams from Alabama. DJ Chark, they got him, and Khalif Raymond. The first guy I want to talk about is Jameson Williams and his fantasy value, because he did have an ACL tear in January, so I could see people maybe not being as high on him this season given his uncertainty for the start of the season. Although nowadays it seems like players bounce back from ACLs in like 6 months. It's kind of crazy.
I think it's going to probably be a tough year for him. And the reason being is wide receivers generally take a little while to kind of get going and get into the NFL swing. I mean, last year, Amon-Ra St. Brown took him a little bit, and then he was on fire towards the end of the second half of the season. I could kind of see that with Jameson, but even a little worse because he won't be with the team as much through the training camps and really the prime time where wide receivers are trying to soak it all in and learn.
And develop, chemistry with Goff and getting a comfort level, especially with a rookie who, a lot of quarterbacks get a little weary, throw into guys that, they have no clue what they're capable of.
I mean, he's a great talent, but I just don't think this year has hit the year for him.
All right, so Amon-Ra St. Brown, Pro Football Focus had St. Brown as the second highest graded rookie wide receiver in 2021. So eyes on him this season for sure. Does he, let's see, wide receiver 22. So he's a pretty good bet in fantasy this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think right now with what I'm seeing with some of the ADPs, he might be going a little overdrafted.
Okay.
I do like him. I think he's a great player, but people are extremely high on him, and he did have this breakout while guys were hurt.
Yeah.
He did it a little bit when guys came back, but a majority of the really good weeks were where he was kind of like the only show in town.
All right. And, the other point is a lot of it hinges on Jared Goff and how he looks.
Yeah.
How they're going to use him. I think Campbell took over the offensive coordinator duties towards the end of last season, which is, I guess, when they were having more success. So maybe that will...
It also depends on their kind of game plans, how much they use their running backs and whatnot.
Speaking of running backs, thanks for that segue,
You're welcome.
Tyler.
I tried to hook it up.
DeAndre Swift, RB15, and Jamal Williams ranked 43rd. So prior to getting hurt in Week 12, Swift was on a 90-catch pace with 1,600 plus total yards. However, with those injuries, that's a concern. And he's had these potential for breakout seasons, but just derailed by the injuries. Yeah. So can he handle the workload? Can he kind of live up to that spot? I don't know.
I really like Swift. I wish he was on a different team. Right. But he is a dynamic running back. It's okay if he's splitting time with Jamal Williams. He did it last year. He still got all the red zone work. He got a lot of passing work. I do like Swift. I see some upside. It is hard for me to take a running back in the late first, early second when they're on that bad of a team, though. So that's kind of my one worry with him.
Well, you have good taste because he's a former Georgia Bulldog. So we always like the former dogs. Let's take a look at the tight end, TJ Hawkinson, tight end 15. Again, a situation where I'm interested to see how this offense looks. So especially when Jared Goff as your quarterback, how he kind of looks this year. So. Yeah, one playoff win since 1957. So let's take a look at the futures market here. And, anything you like here, I think let's take a look at the win total because I think that's the realistic one here. 6.5 wins. What are you thinking in terms of that win total?
I actually really like the under on this. I think 6.5 is too high. Going through their schedule, I was seeing 4 or 5 wins.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I think the under as well. Their strength of schedule is the 5th easiest one, but they still have a really tough October, November. They're at New England, at Dallas versus Miami, and then versus the Packers. And, the Dolphins are a lot tougher this year. And I think the Patriots
never want to play in New England.
Exactly. Never want to play in New England. And the Green Bay Packers will still be tough this season. So I think that many wins is going to be hard to come by. I think a lot of people will probably be a little high on them just because they're the Hard Knocks team this year.
Yeah, that's
so I think
true.
there's a little bit of a bump in terms of that, and I think people are really in on Dan Campbell and think he can turn things around.
I like Campbell too, but it's gonna
it could be like a Ted Lasso situation. Who knows, right?
I love Ted Lasso.
So let's take a look at that was kind of loud. Sorry, guys. Chicago Bears, 6-11 last season. So they got rid of Nagy, brought in Matt Eberflus, ready to build the offense around Justin Fields, or so he claims.
I am so happy Nagy's gone.
Yes. I think a lot of Chicago Bears fans were ready to move on.
Wait, he was supposed to be an offensive genius, and he wasn't.
To your point, so this is just head scratching. The Bears ran just 67 read option rushes last season.
Yeah.
That's so low with Justin Fields
it
as
makes
your
no
quarterback.
sense. They did not do Justin Fields any favors.
Ugh, yeah. 64 run pass option plays. Very low. He was either dropping back in passing situations or tugging the ball on run. Like, it was just not a good situation for Fields. So the question becomes, will he make the leap this year? A lot of people I've seen are really high on him, kind of comparing him to Jalen Hurts. What do you think?
I think he's going to make a little bit of a leap. I mean, to say the leap, I don't know. You know?
Right.
Having an offense built around him is the first step. It's also never good being a young quarterback and having to go through two different offenses.
Yeah.
You know, the play calling's all different and all of that. So I think it might take a little time for them to kind of gel with the new offense. But I do like his upside in fantasy. I wish they decided to put some receivers around him now.
Exactly. That brings... You're just setting me up, spiking it down.
Trying to make it
Wide
easy.
receivers. All right. We got the loss of Allen Robinson. He's over at the Rams now, and that one really hurts because then they've got Darnell Mooney, Velus Jones Jr., Byron Pringle, like names that don't exactly jump out at you. Like Mooney had a good season.
He had a great
year.
season.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he really kind of showed up for the Bears, did great work. Another thing is their tight end situation is
not pretty.
No, I mean Kmet's
You
decent.
Like Kmet?
He's decent. He has some upside.
Last season.
Yes, but that is also with the Jimbo Grabbins, as I like to call him. Jimmy Graham, if you guys didn't pick up where I was going.
Like, wait.
It's a long inside joke with an old roommate of mine where
Jimmy Grabbins.
Yep. So Jimmy Graham
was that
isn't going to be any
not safe for programming story?
No. We just don't need to go all there. Right. It's going to make this a lot longer than necessary. But he's gone, so it is going to come down to Kmet totally. And I do like his upside if he's getting the red zone work, which Jimmy Graham got a lot of.
So running back situation, I think that's the last one we haven't touched on for fantasy. David Montgomery, liking him? Solid? What do we think? Do we think they're going to be? Do you think with Justin Fields, his value decreases if they're going to, use more red zone situations?
I always worry about running quarterbacks rushing inside the 5. So that obviously is a worry with Montgomery, but Montgomery's a really good running back. Yards should be a little bit easier to come by as the defense worries about Fields running more.
Yeah, just really kind of bank it on them to just hopefully improve the offense. And overall. Let's take a look at the futures odds. And to win the division, they actually have the longest odds. I was a little surprised about that. But nonetheless, their win total is also 6.5. Where do you see them ranking?
I think this line is really good. And going through the schedule once again, I was thinking 6 or 7 wins, which just so happens to be their line.
I don't know. Strength of schedule ranks 24th. Yes. They did lose on, we've been talking about fantasy, but they did lose. I forgot to mention. That was probably the biggest story was Khalil Mack. They lost him on defense, which it's going to hurt them.
Oh, it for sure will.
Can they get to 7 wins basically this season? I'm going to say under in this one. However, when I did go through the schedule, I did count about, 6 winnable games for them.
Yeah. 6 to 7, I think they got.
Right.
This is a situation where I would not bet it. If I had to, I think I might take the under.
Yes. Join the dark side. The under. Yeah. Let's get to the Minnesota Vikings now. Last season finished 8-9. Mike Zimmer, you're out of town. Sean McVay prodigy Kevin O'Connell is now in. So, Kirk Cousins, you know what? Kind of an underrated guy every
I like
year.
Cousins.
Back-to-back
like that?
QB 11 seasons. Cousins has thrown for 4,200 yards and at least 30 touchdowns in each of his last 3 healthy seasons in Minnesota, and has at least a 99.7 quarterback rating each season in Minnesota. How do you like his odds for his fantasy performance this season?
I like it. I mean, I like this offense. I think this team is going to win the division.
Oh,
Yep.
I like
Just
it.
throwing it out there.
Okay.
But, I mean, you have a couple different players who, one, Dalvin Cook, his odds for most rushing yards is plus 900. That's the third highest. Justin Jefferson is plus 900 for most receiving yards. Only one higher than him is Cooper Kupp. So sports books are liking the offense.
Certainly the best supporting cast for any quarterback in the NFC North.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
So, all right, let's take a look at it. Running back, Dalvin Cook. Gotta love it. Cook missed 4 games last season, was slowed by injury in others. But when he's healthy, man, he is unstoppable. He finished the year as RB15 overall, but super high ceiling for him when he's healthy. And then Alexander Madison.
He's great.
He's awesome as well. So I read basically an article that was like, this is the most important handcuff if you're going to be playing in fantasy because of when Cook is there. Although it does depend on what the usage is this time around. You got a new coach. So it might not always be that
is very
workhorse
true.
situation where you're just handing it to Cook every time.
Yes.
Maybe they'll split it up a little bit.
And I would not be surprised at all if they split it up a little bit more. They kind of have done that in LA. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, it could be another situation like that. I'm very glad you brought that up.
You're welcome.
The other thing though is if you're drafting a fantasy football team, it's really hard to put so much draft capital to one backfield. Meaning, if you take Cook and then his backup Madison, because Madison doesn't go that
for
late.
season-long fantasy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
Right.
he it's not like he's a very end of the draft kind of draft pick. Like you're taking him in the middle rounds. And
Although if there's an injury to Cook or something.
Hey, totally. You need Madison if
he averaged 19.83 and a half PPR fantasy points per game when Cook was inactive. But then when he's not active, it's 2.7.
Yeah.
However, like we mentioned, you got a new head coach who coming from the Rams where
there's definitely a lot to consider there.
They split things up a lot there. So
they do.
Should be something to look for this season. Talking about the wide receivers, man. Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, he wasn't just a rookie wonder. 108 grabs, 16 yards, 10 touchdowns in 2021. He's just awesome. So looking for him to more gritty dances.
And his line was 1,350 yards. Would you go over or under?
Over.
I mean, he crushed that last year.
Yeah, I'm going over. You?
I think you got to go over.
Yeah. I also think the offense could be even better. Thielen has caught 20 touchdowns over the past 3 seasons in just 38 games and 171 receptions. So that means he scores on 18% of his catches. That's just crazy. First of all.
I mean, he will have lines where it's like 2 catches for 10 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And so I have my note here, like the one area O'Connell might really boost the Vikings is this wide receiver because the Rams' top 2 targets averaged almost 4 more combined targets per game than the Vikings' top 2 receivers last year. The Vikings you always thought was Zimmer super run heavy, so perhaps they could lean more on the wide receivers this season.
KJ Osborne's interesting too. He had a decent season. He had some real good games. They have a complete complete wide receiver core here.
And then looking at your tight end
Mm-hmm.
situation here, Irv Smith Jr. tore his meniscus last season and missed the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
So he came into the league with a lot of high praise, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do coming off of that injury. He's young, 23 years old. So what do you see from him?
And he was getting a lot of hype last offseason prior to getting hurt. So I really hope we're able to see some of that hype come alive where, people may have forgotten about him a little bit or just think there's too many different weapons in this offense. I think Irv could be a nice little kind of late round tight end.
Totally. Let's take a look at the NFL futures odds for the Vikings. So you're liking that division plus 300?
Plus 300. I like it.
All right. Win total 8.5. I'm assuming you don't have them to just win the Super Bowl or the conference.
No, I don't have. I wouldn't bet on
through
them.
Those two.
I could see them making a run for a conference. Win total for sure over. I say 10, 11 wins.
Yeah, I'm also on that. I do think, especially after doing my research today, man, they have a lot of weapons.
They do, and they picked up Zarius Smith from the Packers at linebacker, defense, so that's going to help.
They got some defense as well to help them out. Strength of schedule 20th. So relatively easier, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar with everybody else in the division.
In that division.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the Green Bay Packers. Last year finished 13-4. Of course, had that collapse in the playoffs against the 49ers. And they are the favorites to win the division. And Aaron Rodgers, of course, consecutive MVP seasons. However, the biggest storyline, Davante Adams is not there anymore. So how will that affect Aaron Rodgers, who has averaged 27 points per game, points per game in 7 without Davante Adams since the start of the 2019 season compared, I think I messed that up. 27 points per game with Davante Adams and 23 without. So, what do you see from him this season without Davante Adams?
I see him taking a step back. Personally, Rodgers probably won't be on any of my fantasy teams.
Yeah. Okay.
The wide receiver core is just too big of a question for me. Yeah. With that being said, Christian Watson as a offensive rookie of the year is decent odds.
Yeah.
Plus 950.
So looking at those wide receivers, that includes Christian Watson, Allen Lazard, wide receiver 47 last year, Sammy Watkins, Christian Watson, and Amari Rodgers also is kind of an interesting one there. Lazard, probably the number one option if Christian Watson becomes one. Rodgers is usually wary of rookies, though. From what I recall, at least.
It definitely seems like it takes a little while for him to develop kind of chemistry and confidence in him before he will really start targeting somebody. So I agree. Lazard's probably the de facto number one.
Career best coming off a season where he had career best 60 targets, 40 catches, 513 yards. So probably the first guy he's going to target. But just question marks kind of after that, I guess. And he could easily just spread the ball around to everybody, and then nobody really wins for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, and he likely will do that. I don't think any of these guys, unless Watson really shows up, I don't think any of these guys are good enough to be the number one.
So how about running backs? 'Cause you got Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. Jones finished top 12 running back 3 seasons straight, including a number 2 finish in 2019. And then it's interesting now, too, because he could rely on them more given the wide receiver.
And I think that's what he's going to have to do.
So how about, and then I think nothing really interests me too much on the tight end situation.
Yeah,
either.
I do like Tunyon. He has shown some upside when Adams was hurt or wide receivers were hurt. So I could see him having an all right year.
So taking a look at our futures odds for the Packers. To win the Super Bowl, they actually have the 5th best odds. To win the conference, it's 2nd best after the Bucks, and they are the favorites to win the division. Their win total is 10.5. And you already said you like the Vikings in this one.
And I like the under here.
You do like the under.
Yeah.
Their strength of schedule is 22nd. And all right, so elaborate on your, thoughts on this.
I think if they're going to hit the over, they're going to need Watson to show up from day one. And I don't think he's going to from day one.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to count out Aaron Rodgers.
It is. But, I mean, that team is not as good without Devontae Adams. And he has shown that he struggles a little bit without Adams out there.
Okay, you convinced me.
Oh, boy.
Have we agreed on everything in this one? I think we have.
We have.
You kinda convinced
Now
me to,
that I pulled you to the dark
Vikings.
side.
I pulled you. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what teamwork
Yeah.
right there. What do you think? Who do you think is going to win the NFC North? Drop a comment below. Let us know. Remember,
Vikings.
we also have that best ball tournament link below. You got to get on that because it's millions of dollars you can win at stake.
And it's so fun.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
It's the best
so much
part.
fun.
It's draft day. And then, you can kind of track here and there, but you don't have to do anything. You don't have to take time.
It's the fun of the
Yeah.
fantasy without the actual
Without
work
the work,
during the
yeah.
season. Perfect combination. And as always, make sure to lock in your LineStar premium subscription. It is $19.99 right now. That does go up a little bit for football season. $29.99. Still awesome value, though. Either way, it'll help you. You can optimize your lineup, and it'll tell you exactly who we predict every week. It'll also tell you if you're playing like a daily fantasy, the best, sleeper picks, value as well. So a great tool for you for your fantasy, and we will drop that link below as well. So that's our NFC North. Be sure to watch our other videos, our other breakdowns, just kind of get in the mindset before your drafts. It's good to there's been a lot of action in the off season, so it's a great way to kind of just remember what happened and get you ready for your drafts.
It's coming. 71 days away.
Oh, that's crazy. All right, so that's a look at the NFC North. We will see you guys next time.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.